Hello everybody and welcome to the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya for the final race of the 2015 Seat Leon Eurocup. It is a glorious autumnal day here, although a slightly stiff breeze, so we're just outside Barcelona here at the home of the Spanish Grand Prix. Well, hello from myself, Ben Evans, and as you can see, the ambient conditions absolutely perfect. Huge contingent of Seat supporters here to enjoy this title decider in the Seat Leon Eurocup, because Paul Rosell and Stian Poulsen are both in with a chance of claiming the title. However, the maths are reasonably simple, which are that Rosell just needs to finish ahead of Poulsen, and Stian Poulsen has to finish in first or second place, and hope that Paul Rosell is right at the bottom half of the top 10 in order to stand any chance of success for Paul Rosell. Well, he had the perfect day yesterday. He won the opening race of the weekend, but Stian Poulsen, having a charging drive through the field, was able to net enough points to keep things alive into today. But of course, the second race of the weekend is always the reverse grid, and that means that Shane Anthony Williams in the Wolf Power racing car lines up in pole. Williams, who was very unfortunate yesterday, got caught up in a nasty incident with Jürgen Schmal, which he was completely innocent, and picked up some damage that put him out of the race. Manuel Xiao has had a wretched season, last year's championship runner-up, but he did win in the Seat Leon Eurocup here last year, and he would like to finish the season on a high. Lucille Cipriano, meanwhile, has had a fantastic year of racing. She has been consistently the foremost of the competitors in the Lady Drivers' Trophy. She won that yesterday and could well be challenging for an outright podium today. Fourth on the grid for Jordi Oriola, and he just needs to move up through the field. He had a career best result of second place in race 2 in Monza. Jimmy Antunes then for Monlau competition. The Swiss driver was involved in a couple of incidents yesterday that somewhat belied his outright pace, as we will take a look at the grid in full in a moment's time as the grid is beginning to be cleared. Here's how line up then. Shane Anthony Williams and Manuel Xiao on the front row from Lucille Cipriano and Jordi Oriola on row 2. Then Jimmy Antunes and Niels Langeveld, the Dutch driver who completed the rostrum yesterday. Yesterday's winner, Paul Rosell, in 7th. Clear of yesterday's runner-up, Michael Skøyen in 8th. Stian Poulsen, a lot to do from 9th, and he shares the 5th row with Alexander Morgan. And it's Alberto Bassi and Laia Sanz in the 2 Seat Sport guest cars. Attila Tassi, the Hungarian, from 14th, should move up through the order, as you'd imagine, with Emmanuel Villiers from 16th place, the Andorran. It's David Sebrian and Mario Dablanda on row 9. Julien Brichet had a really torrid time of it, as did Mauricio Hernandez, both drivers far quicker than their 10th row on the grid qualifying suggested. Dina Bus down in 26th, just clear of Marie Baus Coppens. Harry Arabarena making his annual appearance in the Seat Leon Eurocup, just clear of Clément Mathieu and Mladam Leluzic. And then it is Munkung Sathian Thirikul and Jeremy Lezaudier who round out the 32-car field. It is a 14-lap race for the Seat Leon Eurocup, although if we do have the intervention of a safety car, then first of all we'll get a couple of laps credited to the race distance, but if the safety car remains out for a prolonged period, then we would be constrained to a 40-minute time limit, as the 15-second board is shown to the drivers. They are about to be waved away on the final green flag lap of what has been a wonderful season of racing in the Seat Leon Eurocup. Pretty much capacity grids at each and every event, and this final race of the year with the championship on the line promises to be a real thriller. There are the 2 cars to watch for: the white car with the blue bonnet of Paul Rosell and the all-white entry of Stian Poulsen. So for Paul Rosell, the scenario is very simple. If he finishes 6th or above, he will win the championship. If he finishes ahead of Stian Poulsen, he will win the championship. And Poulsen has to finish in 1st or 2nd place to stand any chance of overhauling Paul Rosell. And provided Rosell finishes in 6th and above, it doesn't matter what Poulsen is able to achieve. So there you see the championship situation. There's also a chance that Alex Morgan might jump Julien Brichet to 4th in the standings as well, and the same could happen for Jordi Oriola, with Brichet down in 19th on the grid. There is Julien Brichet, the JSB competition run driver. Mario Dablanda, 7th in the standings, would have hoped for a little bit more possibly from this weekend. And there is Clément Mathieu, who will be starting from the pit lane alongside teammate Jean-Laurent Navarro. He was caught up in the very nasty accident we had heading into turn 1 at the start of yesterday's race, when Mauricio Hernandez got tagged in the midfield and the car was sent into pirouette, which then snowballed as he accelerated along the grass and cannoned into the oncoming traffic. Fortunately, none of the angles of impact were too severe, and although 1 or 2 cars were pitched into retirement, the damage was nowhere near as bad as it could have been. So this last opportunity for the drivers to see how the track conditions have changed since yesterday's race. The answer is they've not changed enormously. The only difference is that we've got quite a stiff breeze, which is resulting in a fairly strong tailwind along the start and finish straight, but also that means a fairly significant crosswind through turn 3 and also turn 9 as well. And it's coming out of turn 9 now, where the front of the field are currently running for Shane Anthony Williams. He has only been in the championship for the second half of the season, the 28-year-old South African, but immediately made an impression at the Red Bull Ring with a 2nd and 3rd place finish. He's yet to match those, but we know that the Wolf Power Racing car has got the pace underneath it, because if you cast your mind back to Silverstone in June, Johnny Cocker, of course, led out from the front and won the reverse grid race. There is Stefano Zanini, the Monegasque driver, who made a lightning getaway to yesterday's race. As Paul Rosell, the championship leader, picks his way through the final chicane. There is his principal rival, Stian Poulsen. Those are going to be the 2 cars worth tracking. It would be quite remarkable if Paul Rosell can, for the 2nd year in succession, leave the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya as the Seat Leon Eurocup champion. Lorenzo Beirao de Viega, the bright orange car, one of several drivers caught up in trouble yesterday. As Williams rolls to a halt under the shade of the imposing main grandstands here, which overlook the start of his straight. That is the white bonneted car. Alongside him, the green and orange car is Manuel João. Row 2, the white car with the black bonnet, that's Lucille Cipriano. And then it's the first, the target competition cars of Jordi Oriola. That's the bright green car. There is off-road motorcycling legend Laia Sanz, who comes to halt in 12th position. This is the 2nd year in succession that she has made an appearance in the Seat Leon Eurocup here in Barcelona. As the last few cars come to a halt, all eyes on the action in the Seat garage as we await the green flag from the marshal at the rear of the field, which we are about to get any second now. Now we have the signal, so it's eyes to the gantry time for the final time this season as the Seat Leon Eurocup finale is about to get underway. The red lights are on, out they go, and it's a great start from Williams. It's also a good getaway from Paul Rosell. In the midfield, it's already crowded as they fan out, heading towards turn 1. Jordi Oriola, another driver who's made a good getaway, 5 wide for 3rd place. It's going to be very tight on the brakes, as leading the way is Williams. 2nd place is Cipriano, or is it Oriola? They all tip their way through. Amazingly, the contact happens, and it's Michael Ascona who goes off through the gravel trap. I think Niels Langeveld was the other driver possibly caught up in that. Now, whereabouts is Stian Poulsen? The answer is he's very wide through turn 3, kicks it sideways, whereas Paul Rosell has had a magnificent start to the race. He is up into 3rd as they turn into 4th corner. And Rosell staying out of trouble. Poulsen has dropped down to 15th, so it's Shane Anthony Williams who leads the way. 2nd place is Cipriano, 3rd Rosell, 4th Antunes. 5th is Manuel João. So they all jostle for position still. Frenetic battling early on there. You see Stian Poulsen, he's dropped all the way behind Julien Brichet. Brichet not going to be the easiest driver to find a way past. And just behind them is Jürgen Schmalz. They head out of turn 9. Now turn 10 is another good overtaking opportunity. And they're all looking for ground further back, aren't they? Everybody trying to squeeze some space to the inside. It's all going to be very, very tight. Mario Dablanda trailing a little bit of smoke as Julien Brichet tries to pick a way around. We've got another car in trouble right at the very, very back of the field. As Brichet squeezes the inside Dablanda, Poulsen can't quite find a way past. He'll look to challenge now into turn 12 as Williams leads the way from Cipriano, then Paul Rosell. Oh, and there's contact behind it. It's Attila Tassi who gets tipped into the spin, rejoins right in the path of the oncoming traffic. They're going to be 3 or 4 wide heading into the final turn. Alberto Bassi pushed out to the side. We've got somebody trailing plenty of damage. Amazing they make it through the final turn, but here comes the charge of the Light Brigade. 7 cars, almost all overlapping as Jimmy Antunes looks to challenge Paul Rosell for his 3rd place. Lankeveld and Oriola go side by side behind, and here comes the sort out beyond as Poulsen looks to the inside as Julien Brichet almost makes contact with Brichet, who is forced out wide and is trailing plenty of damage. Oh, more cars in trouble as they went into turn 3. A couple of them were pushed sideways heading towards the barrier, and we'll see how that has unfolded as meanwhile the challenge for the lead and Lucille Cipriano to the inside of Williams. Head downhill towards turn 5. Williams looks to fight back. He's got the inside line, pushes his way back ahead of Cipriano. Of course, as the pair of them battle, it's going to give the cars in 3rd place, now headed by Jimmy Antunes, the chance to close up. Up to 4th has come Xiao, so Paul Rosell drops to 5th, but as things stand, that is going to be more than enough to give him the championship. Julien Brichet in 10th. Stian Poulsen now up into 11th position, having avoided that incident at turn 3. Here we see another look at it. So it was off through the grass, and there was contact behind it. It was Attila Tassi who got tagged and spun into the path of Thibaut Morg, and then it was Morg who came to a halt in the middle of turn 3. It all started with several of them running wide. This is further back through the field, and another car in trouble, crunching into the wall. That's either Jean-Laurent Navarro or Clément Mathieu. And Attila Tassi really in the wars. That was a little bit of a tag into the final chicane. Tassi keeping his foot in, immediately moving across to reassert track position. And this is a replay of Amalia Vignes, possibly getting a little bit of assistance from Riche Hernandez, and that's a fast place to go off. The Andorran driver thumps into the tyre wall. Fortunately, without too much damage. So we're on to the 3rd of 14 laps. There are plenty of cars to be retrieved as it's still side by side for the lead, and great move from Lucille Cipriano. She pushes her way to the inside of Williams, who now looks to fight back as they come out of turn 3. And Cipriano's made the move stick, but look, Jimmy Antunes and Manuel João have joined in this fight for the lead as well. Then there's a gap in the traffic back to Rosell in 5th. What of Stian Poulsen? There he is in 11th place and out of the points, most crucially. And this race is as dramatic as we knew it would have to be. But as it stands, Paul Rosell will be our champion. He just really needs to stay out of trouble, let the leading quartet sort themselves out. But now that Lucille Cipriano is through and past Williams, she is doing what she can to try and break away. And what we have seen time and time again in the South Lane Eurocup is that as cars run close together and slow themselves down, it can allow gaps either to close up from those behind or open up for the car in front. Plenty of cars sporting a little bit of trim damage, not unsurprisingly given the adventures of the first couple of laps. So there you see what it all means to the Drivers' Championship. And here is Lucille Cipriano. Well, this would be quite something for Cipriano. She has been on the podium already this year on a couple of occasions in both Estoril and Monza, but that was in 3rd place. A race victory would be a career best win result for her as Branca Beirão de Viega in the bright orange car heads a queue of cars, which heads through the final turn as Cipriano, the former Eurocup and French Formula 4 racer, leads the way and is breaking clear of Anthony Williams, who has got Jimmy Antunes and Manuel João forming a not entirely orderly queue behind them. Manuel João, it has been a strangely fruitless season for the popular Portuguese driver. Now, can he finish on a high note with a podium? Well, at the moment, it's Antunes who is asking the questions of Williams, but as Antunes committed to the inside line at turn 4, it leaves the door open to Manuel João into turn 5. If he wanted to have a look, he thinks better of it. Here is a replay, meanwhile, of more incidents behind one of the lane racing cars being tagged by Laia Sanz, who went for a move to the inside that I don't think was ever really going to work out. Also, still in the wars and over the curbs, that is Dina Boos. And that is Jürgen Schmal, missing his braking point pretty comprehensively into turn 5. Now back to the live action on lap 4 of 14. This is the fight now for third place. Williams breaking clear of Antunes, and this is what happens as soon as you start defending, the car in front can just romp away. And now Manuel João applying the pressure. Now, we saw in yesterday's race that Jimmy Antunes maybe just overcommitted to the Yokohama tyres a bit too much in the early stages, and that his pace faded late on. You know, we've got this then queue of cars for 6th place. It's Jordi Oriola from Niels Langeveld, and then David Sabriat, Julien Brichet joining in as well. It's Brichet in the bright blue car. Then a bit of a gap to Alex Morgan, and then Stian Poulsen well out of contention and having a strangely muted performance as now João tucked up right behind Antunes. Which side does he go? He goes to the outside line. He's going to try and commit to this and snatch the inside line for turn 2. Gets squeezed off the road, almost contact as Manuel João rejoins. And suddenly João comes under immediate pressure from Paul Rosell. There is Rosell. So the next gaggle of cars, that's Mladen Luzic, under pressure from Harry Arruabarrena, Laia Sanz, Pellegrini, all part of that fight as well. Through turn 3, pretty dramatic as everybody looking to get a little bit around, and contact there as Arruabarrena darted to the inside of Laluzic. Laluzic tried to close the door as now Niels Langeveld has got the run on Jordi Oriola. Oriola trailing a little bit of smoke into the braking zone at turn 7 and runs wide on the exit, and that's going to give David Cebrian the opportunity to challenge Oriola as well, which he does into turn 9. And Jordi Oriola, he's got bodywork rubbing on the car and has no option, sadly, but to pull right off the road. Now to contention as now Julien Brichet looks to the inside of David Cebrian. Through he goes. Don't forget, Julien Brichet qualified in 19th place. He's now up into 7th position and off in pursuit of Niels Langeveld. All of that, of course, serves to promote Stian Poulsen, but Poulsen remains out of the points, and more importantly in terms of pace, remains a long way adrift of Paul Rosell. Out of the final complex of turns. Just 9 laps remain in the Seat Leon Eurocup season, and Lucille Cipriano is well in command of this race. 2nd place for Anthony Williams. The fight for 3rd, though, as Manuel João looks like another move on Antunes as they head towards turn 1, but Jimmy Antunes has the car perfectly positioned. You get the sense, though, that if João can find a way past, he would be off in pursuit of Williams fairly quickly, and he goes to the move into turn 3. Really brave stuff from Manuel João, and he sneaks past into 3rd position. Great pass. And now, can he chase down the South African Williams? What about, as well, the progress of Paul Rosell in 5th? But Rosell does not want to risk the car, so I suspect that he will be quite happy to hold station. As now, the boot on the other foot for Manuel João. He's got to try and keep the car of Antunes behind him. Here is Rosell, last year's champion, well set to be this year's champion too. It was such an incredibly consistent run at the start of the year for Paul Rosell. He was on the podium for the first 5 races, and really thereafter the balance of the championship was always going to swing in his favour. but then 3 late season victories as well have really helped him. Good scrap going on just behind. Niels Langeveld has got Julien Brichet tucked up right behind him. There's the bright blue car of Brichet. Langeveld, the Dutch competitor. And of course, as Langeveld and Brichet battle, it just opens up some daylight behind Paul Rosell, so he doesn't have to worry about what's going on in his mirrors. Coming to the end of this 6th lap of the race, Lucille Cipriano leading the way and opening up the advantage over Williams. The question, of course, is whether or not João can close up on Williams from 3rd place. 4th, we've got Jimmy Antunes. 5th is Paul Rosell. And Rosell would quite happily see the checkered flag, I'd suspect, at the end of this lap. So the front of the field, Manuel João gave away... No, he didn't. In fact, he gained about 0.6 of a second on Shane Williams last time through. So the battle for 2nd place about to come together in fairly short order. I don't think we can expect to see the 5th place car of Paul Rosell particularly getting too excited about joining in. He'll, of course, gratefully accept any scraps that are offered up, but I think that he'll let João make the running with Williams. But more importantly for Paul Rosell is that Stian Poulsen is in 10th place and not really with the pace underneath him to progress significantly, except to say that Poulsen took things steadily during the first half of yesterday's race, conserved the Yokohama tyres, and then really pushed on in the second half. And he might be thinking about doing the same thing once again. So we're on at lap 7 of this 14-lap race. We'll be at half distance at the end of it. And here is our champion-elect, Paul Rosell, as here is a replay of Stian Poulsen in all sorts of bother at turn 1. And once more, having been a formidable competitor all year long, it's just not quite gone Stian Poulsen's way in the really late stage of the season. Meanwhile, also in a bit of trouble there is Madame Leluzic, who lost it. Leon Racing driver scrabbles back on track. Here's our race leader, Lucille Cipriano. Cipriano has driven very impressively throughout the course of the year. I think her cause is going to be aided here by the progress of Manuel João. Now, last time Williams posted a 1 minute 59.2, so 1:59.7 from Cipriano, 1:59.5 for Williams, 1 minute 59.3 for Manuel João. So João gets to within 0.7 of a second now of the South African Shane Anthony Williams, as they slip through turns 1 and 2. And this would be the best result of the year for Manuel João by quite some margin. Now, can he make it a 2nd place? He attempts to close up onto the Wolf Power Racing car through turn 3. It's the JSP car of Cipriano who leads. Wolf Power Racing in 2nd, Baporo Motorsport in 3rd. And in 4th place, we have got the Monlau competition entry. Jimmy Antunes shows the strength and depth of competition in the South Leon Eurocup. Out of turn 5, and again João just beginning to ask all the right questions now of Williams, starting to force Williams to begin to drive a little bit more with his mirrors than he'd particularly like. At the same time, 2nd place would match Williams' best result of the year. That came at the Red Bull Ring. Absolutely sweltering weekend in July. And as the fight for 2nd and 3rd hasn't really crackled into life, it means that Antunes has been dropped in 4th. 5th place Manuel João's now got Niels Langeveld closing up onto his tail. But again, Rosell can afford to let Langeveld through if he really has to. Yeah, there you see, that battle is just closing up, because what Paul Rosell needs to do above all else is stay out of trouble. Swings down through the right-hander. Rear of the car just starts to move. Langeveld, the Dutch driver, making debut in the South Leon Eurocup this weekend, and with great effect so far. And now he's in the tow behind Paul Rosell as the field thunder towards turn 1. We're on to lap 9 of the race. And it is this fight for fifth, which is possibly the most likely to change into turn one, but Langeveld not quite close enough. Although he just overcommits on the brakes, and this is what Poulsen, or rather Paul Rosell, could really do without, which is a car swarming in his tail. He doesn't want to be caught in contact. Though I think even if he were to retire, then the way the race is unfolding, Stian Poulsen probably would not be able to net the requisite number of points to topple Rosell. Here's the fight for second and third, meanwhile, and the white and red car of Williams coming under pressure from the green and orange machine of Manuel João. And it's through really this first half of the lap where João is that little bit stronger than the entry of Shane Williams, but then Williams is able just to open up enough of an advantage through the second half of the lap. Now, is Langeveld going to back himself to have a little bit of a challenge into turn 10? To turn 9, Rosell uses all the road, possibly a little bit more, into the stiff breeze, into the braking zone at turn 10, and Langeveld pulls the pin and looks to the inside of Rosell and goes through. Paul Rosell doesn't fight it, so Niels Langeveld goes fifth. Rosell slips into sixth. Has absolutely no impact, though, on the destiny of the championship. So Paul Rosell might just be content to ride for a lap or two in the slipstream behind Niels Langeveld. They jig through the chicane at the end of this 9th lap of the race. Just 5 to go. Cipriano accelerates through over the line. Manuel João possibly a little bit closer to Williams this time round. It was 0.4 of a second as they crossed the line, and João darts to show himself to the inside of Shansley Williams. Thinks better of the move. There is Rosell in 6th place. His championship rival Stian Poulsen is in 10th, so Rosell is doing all that he has to do to claim the championship today here in Barcelona. So again, João looks to just turn up the heat a little bit on Williams, and this is really smart tactical driving from Manuel João. He's worked with Williams to build the buffer over Jimmy Antunes to make it a two-way fight to sort out the last couple of steps on the rostrum. And now he thinks about the move into turn 5. Meanwhile, you can just see the run down the championship positions, and Rosell still would take the title by 10 points or so if things stay as they are. Meanwhile, here is replay of Marie Baus-Coppens looking to the inside of Harriet Arrubarrena. Baus-Coppens gains the place, that moves her into 20th, and here is Stian Poulsen to the inside of Alex Morgan. This is the challenge for 9th place, and Stian Poulsen able to gain the position, but it still keeps him outside the points. The Vaporo Motorsport team, who run both Manuel João and Paul Rosell, watch onward. Rosell in a secure 6th. We have a replay of, in the background, that's Marco Pellegrini. A big moment across the gravel trap. Across the line, meanwhile, for the race leader, Lucille Cipriano, she leads by 1.4 seconds over Williams and Manuel João, and that gap has started to come down. Williams seems to be able to elevate his pace just a little bit under the pressure from Manuel João. There's 4 to go. This isn't done and dusted just yet for Lucille Cipriano, provided that Williams and João are prepared to work together. And that's what they seem to be doing. So this is not sorted, because here you have it. The 3 leaders are as close as they have been at any point in the race. What that means now is that Williams just needs to ignore what João's doing behind him, work with the Portuguese driver, maybe for a lap or two, and see if they can make it a 3-way fight for the win. Meanwhile, a drive-through penalty for Stefano Zanini. And Zanini was in 11th place. Given that the drive-through penalty, it's going to put him down to something like 24th. This hasn't been a particularly good lap, has it, for Williams? He has given away a lot of ground, I'd suggest, to Lucille Cipriano through this second sector. We'll find out as they approach the braking zone for turn 10. It was 1.4 seconds between the pair of them at the end of sector 1. Into sector 2, yeah, 0.2 of a second. Confirmation, meanwhile, on the screen in terms of the Drivers' Championship situation. Paul Rozel's 6th place will be more than enough to give him the crown. Manuel João just settling on behind Williams. The drive-through penalty for Stefano Zanini, by the way, is unsafe rejoining of the circuit at turn 2. Out of the final corner, and whether or not this has been an elevation of pace for Cipriano or a depletion of pace for Williams and João, it's the latter. Lucille Cipriano are 2 minutes 0.6. Williams and João are 2 minutes 0.8. Meanwhile, Niels Langeveld has got a good run on Jimmy Antunes as they head towards the first corner. Antunes places the car very, very neatly, squeezes Langeveld to the outside line. Dutchman, though, fancies this, tries to force his way through at turn 2, takes to the curbing. Antunes able to hold on to the position. Meanwhile, Rozel in 6th. As now Manuel João looks the inside of Williams into turn 4 and eases past. So Manuel João goes second. It's been a move that's been several laps in the making. And clearly João feels now he's got the pace underneath him to try and close up onto Lucille Cipriano in these latter stages. Let's see if he can do it. Williams for 3rd is still looking fairly good. Oh, and that's contact between Marco Pellegrini and Marie Baus-Coppens. And they have both emerged from that remarkably without too much damage. Here's another look at it. It's just launched off the curb from Pellegrini. Not quite enough space as he eased wide, and then the wheels interlock. Pellegrini slightly elevated into the air. Right, our leading trio, 2.5 laps left in the race. João is through and past. He's 2.1 seconds adrift of Lucille Cipriano, but now for the first time truly released into some clear air. Meanwhile, Jimmy Antunes and Niels Langeveld continue their fight over 4th place. And then we've got this queue forming up behind Paul Rozel in 6th place. That's Julien Brichet, David Sebrian and possibly Stian Poulsen. Here comes Williams through the final chicane. He has been dropped already by Manuel João, and Williams, I don't think he's got a problem, but he's possibly just had the best of his tyres. 2 laps to go. Cipriano's advantage over Manuel João is just now 1.7 seconds, as Langeveld has a good run coming along the start and finish straight. The other driver who's upwardly mobile, you can see him in the middle of your picture, is Stian Poulsen, who looks to challenge Julien Brichet. So this could be all change into the first corner. And Stian Poulsen gains the place, moves up into 8th position as a result. Puts him into the points. Still far too much ground to gain as Langeveld goes for the brave move around the outside of Jimmy Antunes. Antunes tries to ease him out wide. Langeveld realises that's not going to work. He then looks to the inside at turn 4. That's not going to work either. And this is exactly what happened in yesterday's race, which is Antunes, when he needs to get his elbows out, is really quite robust in defence. Again, he squeezes, oh, that's a little bit naughty, squeezes Langeveld off the road. Langeveld slews back on route towards turn 5, and suddenly Paul Rozel is caught in the situation that he does not want to be in, which is a little bit of a dogfight going on for 5th position. He's got David Sebrian and Stian Poulsen snapping at his heels, and Sebrian looks to the inside of Paul Rozel and squeezes through, and he pushes Rozel off the road, and now Stian Poulsen challenges Paul Rozel and moves up ahead of the championship leader. Suddenly this could take on a real twist, but don't forget that Stian Poulsen needs to finish in 1st or 2nd place to have any chance, as the Norwegian looks to the inside of David Sebrian, glides past into turn 10. Paul Rozel has been dropped down into 8th place. But even so, with the 3 points for Poulsen, given that he came into the race 7 points behind Rozel, he's only going to score 2 more points than Rozel as it is, as they're about to embark on the last lap of the race. And it's still looking very, very comfortable for Rosell. Here we see it again. Antunes squeezing Langeveld out off the road. And as Langeveld rejoined, that bottled them all up. It gave David Sebriat the opportunity to challenge the inside of Paul Rosell as they went through turns 7 and 8, and that then brought Stian Poulsen into the mix. Here is Stian Poulsen, the last lap of the season. I don't think he's going to win the championship, but he is going to make it pretty close as he now challenges Langeveld as they head through turn 3, and third place is on the cards here for Stian Poulsen because they're all closing up on to Shane Williams on this last lap of the race. Brilliant race, the way that it's just suddenly sparkled into life late on. Williams, I suspect, has overcommitted his tyres. Poulsen trying every which way, and he forces the mistake from Langeveld into turn 5, and Niels Langeveld goes out across the gravel trap. He should rejoin, but he is going to rejoin a long, long way back down through the order. So it's another place gained from Poulsen. He goes up into 5th place. But can he get 3rd? It all depends on the pace of Williams as they head through turn 9. Not that 3rd would be good enough for Stian Poulsen. Out front, Lucille Cipriano still leads it from Manuel João. Stian Poulsen flashes his headlights. Every place matters as now Antunes looks the inside of Williams. Oh, there's almost contact through turn 10. This is the battle for 3rd place, the final spot on the rostrum. There's only a couple of corners remaining, but Williams is really struggling. And both Antunes and Poulsen are in the queue. They all hug the inside of the road. They kick the dust up. And is Poulsen going to pull the pin? He looks the inside of Antunes into turn 12. He can't quite make the move stick on the brakes into the final chicane. They all concertina up, curb hopping for Poulsen. Lucille Cipriano wins it from Manuel João by just a second. But what about the battle for 3rd? Oh, it's all gone wrong. Poulsen is damaged. Shane Williams is damaged. And there's been a coming together. So across the line in 3rd place is Jimmy Antunes, and Stian Poulsen's championship charge comes to naught. Paul Rosell takes 5th place, and he is the 2015 Seat Leon Eurocup champion. But what drama on the final 2 laps here in Barcelona. Here's another look at it, and it was Williams who was pushed into the spin by Antunes and then tagged Poulsen, damaging Poulsen's suspension. Such a sad way for such a brilliant race to be concluded. Also in the wars into the final chicane was Marco Pellegrini. Contact once more with Marie Bausca-Pens. I think that was possibly another look at the incident from earlier on. So this is how the final lap unfolded. So first of all, Poulsen looking for that move on Niels Langeveld. I don't think there was contact. Langeveld just overcommitted on the brakes, and that eliminated him from the mix. But for the Baporo Motorsport team, none of that matters. They and Paul Rosell are double Seat Leon Eurocup champions as Poulsen remonstrates with Williams. Paul Rosell celebrates. He is the 2014 and 2015 Seat Leon Eurocup champion. Quite a fantastic finish to the season. Exactly the drama that we had been hoping for. An utter dejection for Stian Poulsen, and such a sad way for what's been a very, very fine season to come to an end for Poulsen. It was a wonderful late race charge. So the order was Lucille Cipriano taking the race victory. So Cipriano winning it, Manuel João a season's best 2nd, Jimmy Antunes in 3rd. 4th was David Sebrian, 5th Paul Rosell, 6th Julien Brichet from 19th on the grid, 7th Alex Morgan, 8th Stefano Zanini in the points, 9th Mauricio Hernandez, 10th Mario Dablanda. Niels Langeveld recovered to 11th, just clear of Munkong, Sathi and Thirikul. Then Laya Sanz in 13th, Lorenco Beirao de Viega in 14th. Marie Bausca-Pens prevailed to 15th, clear of Dejan Belatovic, Jeremy Lazudier, Harriet Arabuena, Alberto Bassi and Mladen Laluzic. And then sadly, Shane Williams, Stian Poulsen not making it to the flag, and nor did Michael Ascona, who we lost very early on. So there is the confirmation of how it all shook out for the championship. Paul Rosell, our champion, 11 points clear of Stian Poulsen, who gave him a great fight. Michael Ascona in 3rd, Julien Brichet 4th. Alex Morgan climbs to 5th in the standings, clear of Jordi Oriola, Mario Dablanda, Fran Rueda. Lucille Cipriano up to 9th after that late victory, and Shane Williams completing the top 10 in the season standings. Well, enough talking points from those last 14 laps to take us all the way through the winter, as nonetheless Jimmy Antunes celebrates a very, very hard-fought third place. For Manuel João, it has been a truly luckless season, but the Poro driver rewarded with an excellent second place, and then taking her time to head towards Parc Fermé. Our race winner, Lucille Cipriano, she has driven an absolutely magnificent race. She and GSB competition taking victory in the season concluding race for the Seat Leon Eurocup. Jumps out of the car, receives the congratulations of the team, and in a few moments' time we'll be able to head down to the podium and Parc Fermé to hear from our winner. But first of all, there are the congratulations to be enjoyed. Plenty of well wishes, of course, already congregating beneath the podium. Such a magnificent and dramatic race. Those last couple of laps were absolutely fantastic. It is what touring car racing is all about. Very, very close, very clean for the most part. And it meant it detracted from the front of the field. Cipriano and João were engaged in the cat and mouse battle, but Lucille Cipriano prevailed. She took race victory, and not unsurprisingly gives a big thumbs up for the camera. So look in super slow motion, Cipriano controlling the race from the front of the field, managing it absolutely perfectly, and able to absorb the pressure from Williams and João as the race unfolded. So we will be able to head down to Parc Fermé in a second's time and hear from our race winner, Lucille Cipriano.
Lucille, what an amazing race you did it.
Yes, well, crazy. I started from third place and now it's just incredible, and I didn't believe I could do it, but yes, it's really I'm so happy, and yes, it was a really good race and good fighting with Shane Williams, but after I don't know where he was, but now I'm really happy and
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And utterly overjoyed, Lucille Cipriano, with good reason. Let's take a look back then at the highlights of the race, and it was a very good getaway from Cipriano as the field surged towards turn one. It all got congested behind, and Cipriano was able to squeeze through in second place, as somehow they all stayed out of trouble, although Attila Tassi got caught out at the end of the first lap, tapped into a half spin. That became slightly a bigger spin for Tassi through turn 3 on lap 2. He took Thibaut Morg with him for company, as not unsurprisingly the fighting through the field was absolutely frenetic. Malia Vinez assisted into a spin by Mauricio Hernandez, the Andorran driver ending the race against the tyre wall, as Julien Brichet and Stian Poulsen, having survived the early ventures, were steadily picking them up through the field, as was Manuel João, who didn't quite get the start that he had hoped for, dropped to 5th early on and then started to close up through the field as Mladen Leluzik had a trip through the gravel trap at mid-race distance. Also in the wars, Marie Bauskas-Pens and Marco Pellegrini, and that sadly was enough to force Pellegrini into retirement. Well, the last couple of laps were absolutely magnificent, as David Sebrian pushed his way past Paul Rosell. That brought suddenly Stian Poulsen into the mix. Poulsen went on to a charge, was fighting for third late on, helped by that mistake from Niels Langeveld. But then through the final chicane there was contact between Antunes and Williams, and it was Poulsen who lost out in the chain reaction, as all the while Lucille Cipriano came through. She scored a magnificent debut victory in the South Leon Eurocup. Second place went to Manuel João. Jimmy Antunes completed the podium, but fifth place was enough to crown Paul Rosell as our 2015 champion. So on to the rostrum for the final time this season. Third place to Antunes, second to João, a race winner and of course Lady Driver Trophy winner Lucille Cipriano on the top step of the podium. French national anthem rings out in honour of Lucille Cipriano, victorious in the final race of the SEAT Leon Eurocup season. Circuit to Barcelona, Catalonia. It has been a wonderful weekend's entertainment for the SEAT Leon Eurocup to bring to a close what has been a quite fantastic season of racing as we move on to the presentation of the trophies. So third place to Jimmy Antunes, borrowing Alex Carbonell's suit for the weekend. Runner-up Manuel João, it's not been his season, but the class and quality has always been there, and he is rewarded with an excellent second place. And our race winner, of course, Lucille Cipriano, managed the race to perfection. We always get this entertainment from the reverse grid race, and she receives the winner's trophy, and the applause of the JSB competition team and indeed all the South Leon Eurocup community at the foot of the podium. And she also will have a very busy mantelpiece because she once more claims the Lady Driver's trophy and hoists that aloft as well. So the presentation's completed. It's time to enjoy the bubbly on the podium. It means it's also time for myself, Ben Evans, to say thank you very, very much for joining us throughout this season of action for the South Leon Eurocup. Hope that you have enjoyed the action. It's been a fantastic season of racing, and we will very much look forward to it continuing in 2016. But until then, as Paul Rosell is our South Leon Eurocup champion for 2015, it is goodbye from Barcelona.
Recordem que el Pol Rossell és el nou campió i per tant doncs volen fer un acte després la gent de SEAT, doncs tocaran ells mateixos i enhorabona pel campió del 2015 de SEAT.